Google says that the word fury is defined as wild or violent anger, as in tears of fury and frustration. Now, Furi the game might not be quite so dramatic as that, but after spending a short while with this game, you will definitely be feeling the frustration. You play as some badass that's been locked away in prison for who knows what reason. You bust out of there and search for your way to the outside world, which in the case of this universe is called the real world. Is this a dreamscape? Another dimension? The art style is very otherworldly and reminds you of some type of edgy Alice in Wonderland. I got extreme Cheshire Cat vibes from the companion that narrates the journey your character takes. And the journey is filled with boss battles. The entire game consists of walking from one boss battle to the next. That's it. So with 10 bosses total, this game can be beaten in about 2 hours. If you're good, that is, because they are tough. Even the tutorial boss can give some people some difficulty, and that's because the combat is a mixed bag of different gameplays. One minute you're running around shooting your gun like you're in some kind of bullet hell twin stick shooter, and the next you're face to face in a clunky 3D fighter. It sounds great on paper, but when you're playing it can get pretty confusing, and not mentally confusing, physically. Your hands will just not get accustomed to having to switch placement every time you need to change up your strategy. So when you're trying to dodge a laser, you'll have to let go of the analog stick and press X, and depending on how large the laser is, you'll have to charge it down to dodge it from a greater distance. But you don't want to stop shooting either, so you'll have to keep switching your right thumb from the analog stick to the X button over and over again, and if your timing is not right, you'll get bombarded with lasers and bullets. It's not impossible, but the learning curve can be steep. But it doesn't end there. The next part of combat, the whole reason you're even shooting your gun at the enemy, is to lower their stamina bar. Do this and they fall to the ground, allowing you to hit them with your sword. The game then moves into a Pokken tournament style fighting arena where you have to attack, dodge, and parry the enemy's moves at the right time. This is probably the most frustrating part of the game, and where it earns its title of Furi. So maybe I'm doing it wrong, but the parry is so finicky that if you aren't right on time with your button press, they'll hit you and take off a huge amount of hit points. I can't count how many times I've lost to a boss solely because of this parry mechanic. With some bosses you can just dodge and attack, but other bosses will be just too fast and you will be forced to parry their attacks. The third boss will frustrate you to no end if you haven't mastered the parry button by then. But even though it is frustrating to lose over and over again, once you win it feels very rewarding. And it's the only reason you want to come back to this game, because certainly the rest of the game and the story leave a lot to be desired. So imagine you've just finished the first boss. You're hyped because it was challenging but fun, and you can't wait to fight the next boss. But wait a minute, the game says, here's the story. An incredibly long and drawn out story that doesn't truly explain what's going on. A companion joins you on your journey to the real world, whatever that means, and it never tells you why you have to fight these guys. Some are guardians of the realm trying to stop your escape, but at least one boss was a prisoner herself. Shouldn't she have been on your side? But you end up fighting her anyway. And if they are trying to stop you, why aren't they following you? You have to walk to them. And man, does this guy walk slow. After having been running around dodging lasers at blistering speeds, having these story interludes between bosses is really jarring. You expect to still have that fast movement as your character explores this world, but he walks very slowly. I can only assume this is to pad out the game's length and to tell the story this way through narration, but it's so boring. You just want to get on with it because nothing happens. He's just walking along a path. The parts between fights could have been much better served through animated cutscenes. Let's see your character fleshed out more. Let's see his personality through his movements. You never feel connected to the character because he has no character. The bosses do. Luckily, you don't have to keep holding down the stick to walk. You can just press a button and he'll walk on his own, which can be helpful since the environments have a fixed camera, much like the old PS1 games that had static backgrounds. This is the worst part of this game by far, and I wish they had just made them into cutscenes, since it really does halt any enjoyment you were having with the game, at least until you start fighting again. There is, however, a way to just fight all the bosses in a row with no downtime, after you beat the game and unlock speedrun mode. And basically that's all there is to Furi. If you enjoy bullet hell shoot 'em ups and split second timing, you may really get a kick out of it. But be prepared for a healthy challenge bordering on tearful frustration.